Round of 16. Fort Worth, Sacramento takes center stage after okay-ish opening weekend of the tournament to start. Not a ton of close games. Then we had Saturday afternoon, and then we had yesterday afternoon, and there was some chaos. And then the one seeds played and reminded everyone that they're better than everyone else. Still good Monday. Still plenty to talk about on the latest Gauer Hour. Rob, Joyce, Megan Gauer. Megan, for you, how was the opening weekend?
Was good. I was in stores, so the one downfall is they got rid of our little plug-in boxes for my Ethernet cord this year, so I watched a little bit less games because the Wi-Fi would not cooperate, but it was good.
How's your bracket?
I haven't even looked, but a mess, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I always pick too many upsets in the first round.
Well, that's a good place to start. Friday, the higher seeds were 16-0. Saturday, your upsets were 9 seed Syracuse, 9 seed USC. These aren't upsets. And then 10 seed Virginia. We've now had 3 years since a 12 beat a 5, let alone a 13 over a 4. It's been 2 years since an 11 beat a 6. This pays dividends now where you're getting just loaded matchup after loaded matchup. For the mid-majors in particular, this is such a small sample size of Princeton lost, Richmond lost, Rhode Island lost, Fairfield lost, South Dakota State lost. I feel like this is a bad thing for them perception-wise, where every year they're going to, the perception will be, well, yeah, the SEC needs a 12th team because this mid-major is just going to lose anyways.
Yeah, I think it's bad perception-wise for the mid-majors because I think even if just one of them wins a game, which they have in the past, right? Like South Dakota State has won many tournament games in the last few years. Then it just like kind of proves that the mid-majors deserve to be in the tournament. Not that they should have to prove it, but like it adds to it. But on the flip side, like you kind of alluded to, like I think it makes for really, really great basketball in the regional rounds. And like in my opinion, like the regional rounds probably the best weekend of the women's tournament because of that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. This is going to be exciting matchups. Now, like you and I are champions of A10 basketball, of Fairfield basketball, of Ivy League basketball. It's like, all right, it's disappointing when they go out. Like none of them got blown out, but none of the games were close in the fourth quarter. And, you're not running into UConn or UCLA like what happened to, say, the Jackrabbits last year. You're talking about the 11th best SEC team, the 9th and 12th best Big Ten teams, the 5th best ACC and 5th best Big 12 teams. It's disappointing that, it doesn't help the case as we continue on all things college sports, not just women's basketball, of how can the overlords get more SEC and Big Ten teams and ACC and Big 12 teams in over some of these smaller schools is what it is. Meanwhile, not a great showing from the Big Ten. ACC, very, very, very good weekend.
Yes.
Big Ten could have been better.
Yeah.
What does that say?
Though, which is like fascinating because they're probably the conference. Well, maybe the Big 12 was not as good, but like I feel like people thought the ACC was having a down year, and then they've had a great showing in the tournament so far.
Absolutely, they have what, 5 teams left?
Yeah,
and that's, obviously you have Virginia, who's the Cinderella of this season so far. Notre Dame has been a completely different team than the Notre Dame that we saw, heck, even 2 months ago. Yes, Hannah Hidalgo. It's not just Hannah Hidalgo. She's getting help, and that's been the difference. Want to start with, we're going to kind of jump around. We'll start region by region. I want to start with the biggest upset of yesterday, Monday. Sacramento 4. Iowa does not make it out of the first round. Virginia, a 10 seed, becomes the first team to have to play in the first 4, and they're in the Sweet 16. Cavaliers just win close game after close game after close game.
Yes. Yeah, this one, of course, in the middle of the day. All the good games are in the middle of the workday. That's what happens. And actually, my client at my day job is actually in Iowa, and I was on a call when they were going into overtime, and the project manager was pinging me, like, we need to wrap this up. I was going into overtime.
Well, don't worry, there were 9 reviews, so you had lots of time.
Yes. But, I think huge win for Virginia, right? A team that was played in the first 4, and now to be going to the Sweet 16, and I felt like in this one particularly, when you look at the stats, all things are kind of even. But their bench, I thought, was the difference maker because Iowa only got 4 points from its bench, whereas Caitlin Weimer off their bench scored 12, and I think that was when you look at kind of the numbers side by side, that was the biggest differentiator.
Yeah, my theme for today is not to take away from there's all the stars showed up, and Kevin Johnson, I mean, deserves all the accolades she's getting. She played 38 minutes in the first 4 win over ASU. She played like 43 in the overtime win over Georgia, and she didn't come out yesterday. She's as advertised. Paris Clark, I think, saved the game for Virginia. 8 straight points in the fourth, couple of threes, and then she added a 2. Johnson, she's the factor going in. Everyone knows she's going to get the ball. How do you stop her? You largely still can't. So you get that secondary scoring. You show up defensively. Iowa just didn't shoot the ball well for
No.
a weekend at home, which is kind of weird. And Virginia's in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2000. I was talking to some Virginia folks, not just Virginia fans, not anyone associated with the school officially. And they thought Coach Mox might have been on a hot seat if they didn't make the tournament going into the year. I think she's going to get a raise now.
Yeah, I think her coaching job is quite safe right now. But yeah, a weird one too, because like you said, Iowa just didn't shoot the ball well, but they also took 21 shots more than Virginia in this game and still lost, which you don't see that often.
I didn't realize that. So I had to listen to. I left work because middle of the workday. Listen to start of the fourth quarter through right before the one where Stolke got a flagrant called, or Virginia got a flagrant called on a phantom elbow against Hannah Stolke, which I thought was ridiculous. Did you see the Iowa flagrant earlier in that overtime by chance?
No, I did
I
not.
forgot to go back and look because the Iowa folks did not seem to think it was a flagrant on radio. And I didn't think the Virginia one was a flagrant by any stretch of the imagination. So maybe tit for tat. Iowa, we're never going to know this, right? But I asked last week, like, how do you respond? They had won 8 in a row. They beat everyone basically handily. They beat Michigan twice handily. Then you lose by 51 to UCLA. Don't know if that has any factor, but we asked, how would they react? Not well.
Yeah.
Like they were lucky to escape Fairleigh Dickinson in the 115-degree Carver Hawkeye on Saturday. So yeah, I mean, just bad weekend for the Hawkeyes, and second time in 5 years they lose at home. Not that people will jump on them, but different teams. But yeah, are you surprised that Iowa really how many 50 minutes, 90 minutes of basketball didn't really look good they looked for like 10 of them in the third quarter against Virginia.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, maybe like the 50-point loss should have been a tip off that like things weren't going great. Like, yes, UCLA is really good. You still, at the level that Iowa is supposed to be at, probably shouldn't lose in a conference tournament game by 50 points. But yeah, I'm still a little bit surprised. I didn't think Iowa was gonna go to the Final Four or anything, but like I would have expected them to make it to the second weekend. And if they were gonna go out, I could have seen it at the hands of Georgia. Like I wouldn't have seen it being at the hands of Virginia.
I agree. Still a very good career for Hannah Stolke. Good career for Kylie Feuerbach. And I mean, the future's still bright. Jane Jansen knows what she's doing. They have 2 sophomores who will be juniors next year, Ava Hayden, Chit Chat, are both only juniors. At a deal, you expect her to make a freshman leap into a sophomore leap. I'm sure they have some recruits coming in. Recruiting's not my thing. I've checked like 7 times looking at some kind of like moratoriums on these programs as their seasons end, and I forgot to look for Iowa. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned that Iowa, they're never coming back. It's just, they had a bad weekend, had a bad time of year. Honestly,
Yeah, exactly.
I thought another exciting game quickly on the first round. Virginia, Georgia was a good game. Both teams looked trying to handle it in the second half. Mia Woolfolk was so good for Georgia. Virginia and Georgia kind of had similar seasons of knowing there weren't really expectations. They both make the tournament. Virginia not comfortably. They had to play in the first 4, but I thought obviously a major, major step up for Coach Abe and company. And Carnegie's back. Mia Woolfolk, I think, is back. I don't think she was a senior. Reason for optimism there?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a team that probably exceeded expectations for the year. Like you said, there weren't a lot of expectations. They comfortably in the tournament, and like with their big pieces back, there's no reason they can't be better than they were this year, next year.
which means 8th place in the SEC to 7th. I'm kidding. That's a SEC quality joke, not a Georgia is bad joke.
Yes.
We'll stay in, what are we, Sacramento 4?
Mhm.
Go back to Sunday, Oklahoma, Michigan State. Close game. You're not going to be stunned by this comment. The shot making was awfully fun to watch. I hated the game. Hated it. Couldn't stand it. 45 turnovers. And yeah, I know like Michigan State, that's their thing. They force turnovers. So many of those turnovers are unforced errors. There's nothing to do with the defense playing well. Complete carelessness with the basketball. Congrats to Oklahoma. You won the game.
Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily a pretty one. I mean, Reagan Beers was great for them, 18 points, 14 rebounds, but yeah, I mean, 23 turnovers for Oklahoma. They also didn't shoot the ball well from three. They were 44 of 22 from deep. Chavez was 5 of 17. Like, you won the game. You made it to the Sweet 16, but if you don't clean those three things up, I don't see how you are going to beat South Carolina again.
Well, South Carolina just forced 27 turnovers last night and won by 40. So I know we'll talk. We're going to do recap and then we'll preview towards the end of the show. So we'll get to Oklahoma, South Carolina because the Sooners beat the Gamecocks in overtime in the regular season. I still wish Reagan Beers would get like if 2 or 3 Chavez shots per game went to Beers, I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
If Aaliyah went 5 of 13 instead of 5 of 15 and Reagan Beers went 10 of 13 instead of 9 for 11.
Yeah.
Like wouldn't hear a peep out of me. And I think Zia Van's the unsung hero of this team. She had 12 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, even a couple of blocks. We've never doubted the talent of Oklahoma. It's just, can you defend enough? Can you take care of the basketball enough? The answer to this point is yes. I think they're teetering a line. Yeah. Because they're clearly more talented than Michigan State, who on the Spartan side, they've been a extremely long time. They've basically been the same program, a good program. They made the title game in 2005, and the 20 years since, never finished below 500. They've made 15 tournaments. They're never higher than a 4 seed, but they're generally not a double-digit seed, and they've only been to 2 Sweet 16s in the last 20 years. So basically every single year, whether it's Robin Freilich or Susie Merchant, they win 21, 22 games, they make the tournament, and they're gone by the first weekend. There's obvious progress with Robin Freilich in her 3 years, a 9 seed to a 7 seed to now a 5 seed. The next step for them, they have good all-conference players. I love Kennedy Blair. I like Grace Van Sluten. Rashonda Jones was great on Sunday. I think that team maxed out its talent, and that's a good thing. Now, can you get an All-American? Because then when you max out your talent, you're talking Final Fours, or at least second weekends.
Yeah, I think you see that as you start to look at the teams that are playing in the second weekend, and I think one of the keys is having that next level of talent that Michigan State doesn't have. I mean, you see it with like Notre Dame 6 seed in the getting through there, and they've got Hannah Hidalgo, like clear All-American. It makes such a big difference.
And this isn't to denigrate what Michigan State's done at all.
Right.
Like the goal is to, with what you have, can you play to the best of your abilities? I thought Michigan State very much played to the best of its abilities all year long. Now, complement Kennedy Blair, an all-conference player. Or if Kennedy Blair can become an All-American player, now you're talking, you're hosting, you can get to the second weekend, you're threatening for a Final Four. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, it's star power. Look at who played the best in the past 2 days. Daisy Fudd, Lauren Betts, Hannah Hidalgo. In a loss, Jelani Cambridge. Olivia Miles came to alive in the second half for TCU. I know I'm missing a bunch, but those are just the examples off the top of my head. Reagan Beers, so walking double-double in the tournament. All-Americans win you games. So, if you easier said than done, go get an All-American. Just go find one. They grow on trees. Quick shout out to Colorado State, mind you, but not a whole lot of upsets in the first round. Colorado State tried like heck to get one over Michigan State. Yeah. That was really, what day was that? Was that Friday?
It was Friday.
That was the only good game Friday. I think.
Pretty much. Minnesota Green Bay was good for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Then,
good for 3 quarters.
Got out of hand at the end.
That was a long time ago. Shout out Colorado State. Last minute of the game took like 15 real minutes, but they had a shot to tie it at the buzzer. Yeah, I didn't think they could hang. That's probably my bad. I mean, the 5 straight 20-win seasons, when you win, even if you're an underdog, you go in with an expectation of winning games. That's what they almost did. TCU Washington. You may not have stayed up for this. That was a 10 o'clock Eastern tip Sunday night, and I don't know what time it ended because, admittedly, I went to bed at halftime. With Washington up 8, woke up, TCU wins in overtime. Rewatching it, heck of a game. Fourth quarter in overtime. Olivia Miles comes to life. night and day difference offensively, defensively. And TCU back in the Sweet 16 second straight year. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I like you also. Did not make it up for
2026, you can
all of it.
rewatch anything. It's great.
Yes. Similarly with the UConn men's game on Sunday night, which I woke up at like 2 a.m. with the TV still on. I'm like, oops. But yeah, I mean, I thought for like you said, Olivia Miles came along down the stretch. I thought it was a bit of a tough shooting night overall for her and for Suarez, but they found enough to get it done, which like when it comes to March, that's really all you can ask for, right? It's very much survive and advance. And then the flip side for Washington, like I think we both had really high hopes for this team going into the season that maybe didn't come fully to fruition, but I thought their main pieces showed up nicely in this one, and it's a team that I mean, continue to think like we'll start to figure it out more as their pieces get older.
Yeah, they have a star in Savia Sellers. She's back. They have a budding star in Bryn McGoy, who will be a sophomore next year. That look to tie things up, I thought was great. A heck of a finish at the end of regulation. Avery Howell was incredible versus South Dakota State. She had 30 points in the win over the Jackrabbits. I mean, you and I were high on them. They basically met preseason expectations. They were the first team not receiving votes, so they're the 26th ranked team in the country, if you will. They were a 6 seed, they were a 6 seed and lost in the second round. They met expectations. You and I we thought they'd be a little bit better, and that's
right.
That's fine. I mean, they were a shot away from being better.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
That's the fine margins. I missed the first 4 minutes of the South Dakota State game, and when I saw it was 13-3 Jackrabbits, I felt good about our predictions of a South Dakota State win. Then I turned the game on. How on earth was South Dakota State up 13-3? I was about as impressed by Washington in the first round of any team that I saw in the first 2 days of the tournament. Like, I know Brooklyn Meyer got into foul trouble, but they were great on both ends of the ball. And that's the peak of Washington that we just didn't quite see enough for them to get over the hump. And I mean, they were awfully close. I think Tina Langley has that thing on the rise. Missed the tournament, 11 seed, first 4, 6 seed this year. Pieces are back. They're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they return everyone, and I don't know what they have coming in, but yeah, a team that I'd expect to even be better next year.
And then lastly in Sacramento 4, we're going to flip things. We're going to rewind to Saturday before we get to Monday. Because I lied last week. I did watch USC Clemson. Because, boy, was that entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, Mia Moore, a tenth of a second, quarter of a second away from a shot that'd live on forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't audibly react to too many things because that's what this job has done to me. And growing up, like sitting in radio booths has done to me. I don't cheer. When that shot went in, I went, oh my God. And then, sorry. If the game was 40.1 seconds, Clemson would have won, said USC wins. Sean Poppy has that thing arrow pointed straight up trajectory-wise. Yeah. And the ACC is there. Like, the upper echelon isn't so far ahead of everyone else that why not Clemson?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a high or a lower barrier to entry than like the SEC, where your upper echelon is South Carolina and Texas and LSU. They've got 4 All-Americans, and it's a little harder to get to that level, where the ACC, like you said, is a little bit more for the taking. And why can't Clemson be a part of that conversation next year or the year after, and really in that top group?
He's done incredible work. I mean, you could see it last year that they weren't. The win-loss record wasn't there, but they were really close. And then they turned a corner this year. They made the tournament as the 8 seed. They were the 8-9 game.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're going to be like a kind of a sneaky. They might sneak in next year, like the 24th in the ranking in the preseason poll, and then finish the year threatening for a host spot. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. So USC won. Congratulations. Their reward was a second beat down at the hands of South Carolina. Overall, I mean, I know Vandy looked good. Michigan had a big second half. LSU looked really, really good. No one's beating these 1 seeds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't look like it right now. They're all playing at, I think I'd just say, a different level than maybe LSU. Like, I don't think anyone's going to beat UCLA, but like the 2 seeds that maybe had similar level of first 2 run games, LSU is the only one I think there.
I mean, Vandy made a lot of threes.
Mm-hmm.
That is obviously a good equalizer. I say that as if UConn didn't lead by 53 at the half. You want my Monday night story? This will circle back around to South Carolina. So my 4-year-old now plays soccer. He had a game last night. Playing soccer for 4-year-olds is obviously a loose term. So it's close enough to our house that he rides his scooter there and then I drive the car. So I'm jotting down some last minute notes for this show. It's like 6:00. I thought UConn Syracuse tipped at 6:05. I was wrong. They tipped at 6:02. Why does that matter? Because at 6:07, I went to ESPN to pull up the game and it was 11-2. And then I gathered some things to get in my car and go to the game, and I pop on the radio, support the family business, and listen to my father. And then the first thing I hear is, Coach Jack takes another timeout. What do you mean takes another timeout? And it's like 25-6, and then it didn't get any better. Anyways, so fast forward. I come home from the soccer game. We read a book. We do the bedtime routine. I come downstairs at 8:10. USC and South Carolina tipped off at 8:02. 8 minutes later, it was 10-0 Gamecocks. Well, okay. I guess I'm not going to watch that game either because it's over. It's over. The games are worth talking about. They're worth watching, but man, like we're on a collision course.
Yeah, I heard the UConn half of that story from your dad last night. But yeah, I mean, it's just the same feeling with South Carolina and USC. Kind of, I mean, as expected, right? Like you expect these 1 seeds are going to probably not have too much trouble in the first weekend, but there's not having too much trouble, and then there's the game's over after the first 10 minutes of it. And we saw a lot of that last night. For South Carolina, what stood out to me was I thought, like, we always talk about this team kind of being balanced, and they certainly were, right? They had, 4, 5, 6 players in double figures last night, but Joyce Edwards with 23. I feel like the one thing that maybe South Carolina's been lacking, if you can even call it that, this season is, like, who's that, like, kind of go-to player that's going to put up the bigger numbers, and I think we're starting to see Joyce Edwards be that player for them.
For a while, I thought Joyce Edwards might be a first-team All-American. She'll have to settle for second team. Yeah, it's clearly, if they need a bucket, it's clearly her. Maybe I could see, I mean, Raven Johnson is very a timely player. If she pulled a trigger and they need a 3, even if she had, like, she was 3 of 9 last night, I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, it's Joyce Edwards is their best player. She's their best scorer. She's one of the best running bigs in the country. She had a double-double last night. Medina Okot had a double-double last night. 15 and 15 on, she only took 6 shots and had 15 points. They're efficient, man. I mean,
yeah.
And then they were plus 16 on the glass. They forced 27 turnovers. And to round out the story, this was before the South Carolina game, but they were mentioned. 2 dads next to us were talking women's basketball unprovoked, which you love to see.
Yes.
It was an oldie but a goodie. UConn, they saw, was up 53 at the half and went, that's bad for women's basketball. We're so back. And I'm sure, and then they brought up, well, South Carolina just wins every game by 40. Like, folks, we are thriving. Thriving. USC, South Carolina and UConn are bad for women's basketball.
Yes.
But hey,
I did get home last night from the game and log into my work computer to a ping from one of our partners saying the spread out of the UConn game at halftime was -78.5. That's bad for women's basketball. We're very back.
Well, Syracuse covered in the second half because I think they tied UConn. Fire Gino. You're losing second halves in tournament games. Not acceptable. USC. Very exciting next year, obviously, right? You have Jazzy as a sophomore. Yeah. Juju's back. Kennedy Smith is only a junior. Then you're adding in the number 1 recruit in the country, Sanaya Hall. Go get some size.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number 1 thing for this team is they need someone to post. And, like, I don't think it's going to be particularly difficult for them to do that when I'm sure there's going to be a handful of good bigs in the transfer portal, and your sell is come play in sunny Southern California alongside Jesse Davidson and Juju Watkins and try to win a national championship. Like, it's not a hard place to recruit, I wouldn't think.
It's the best backcourt in the country going into next year. You don't have to be amazing. I don't want to say Juju is so generational. I don't want to overreact, but Kiki and Rhea Marshall were as missed as Juju. I don't want to say more missed, but as missed.
Yes.
Because, I mean, they, like Jazzy, I know she had her freshman lump. She was 5 of 15. She was not overly efficient for much of the year. She obviously just kind of had to shoot the ball because she was the option. But just the lack of size killed USC all year long. So if they get some with that backcourt, yeah, that's a preseason top 5 team. It probably already is because the Juju hype train and the Jazzy's a sophomore hype train and the number 1 recruit, they probably already are. If they get some size, whoo, watch out.
Yeah. No, this is a team that with some size and Juju back is going to be very, very good next year.
Fort Worth 3, game of the day yesterday. Had to watch this during the soccer game. The end of Kentucky, West Virginia. Heck of a game. A few times looked like the Wildcats had it under control. That pressure, though, that crowd. Sidney Shaw willed West Virginia back in it. And then, boy, quarter of an inch, that ball bounces off the front of the rim and goes in instead of the front of the rim and goes out. And UK is off to the Sweet 16 for the first time in a decade. Another very good game yesterday.
Yeah. And I thought it was the bigs for Kentucky really that were great. I mean, Tioni Key had 19, Claire Strack 18. They were both with 9 or 8 of 14 from the floor, so they were efficient. It was a really good game from the two of them.
Yeah, they had 25 rebounds. Those two out-rebounded West Virginia alone. It was 39-23 Kentucky on the glass. And now, the thing with Kentucky's always been the depth. I don't think that's as much of a factor now. You're playing twice a week. There's no... Like, they ran out of steam in Greenville because it was 3 games in 3 days, and the team was South Carolina. You don't have to play 3 games in 3 days anymore.
Right.
You get a rest. So, I mean, look at Virginia. Doesn't seem to affect Kamora Johnson that she plays. On average, 45 minutes per game in a week. And Virginia's in the Sweet 16. So, yeah, Kentucky, the depth thing is only an issue if they get in foul trouble. They do a pretty good job of not doing that. And a quick shout out to West Virginia. The cupboard was not bare when Mark Kellogg took over. But I remember 2 years ago when they took Iowa to the brink in the round of 32, and he said he wanted to get West Virginia there. And not only did he do that, but boy, they showed up. Yeah. Record crowd yesterday, I think. It was almost 13,000 at Hope Coliseum. That's not a fun place to go when it's the regular season and there's half that many people there. Double it at the tournament. And I mean, I think it's really impressive that Kentucky was able to win that game because West Virginia doesn't really lose at home. Right. And you would think double the crowd, that would have been, that's a tall task.
Yeah, exactly. I think we talked about it last week, how like to bet against West Virginia and their home court was a risky business and like they don't lose there. So yeah, I mean obviously very close game and Kentucky does get the win, but it's an impressive win as if they had been on a neutral site and I think and won by 10, like just as impressive.
I was like overly confident that Kentucky was going to walk out. I said last week, and then someone asked me, I don't know, Thursday, Friday, pick a day. Like, who do you have in this one? And I said, oh, Kentucky. And they said, well, West Virginia, they sold out in like an hour. I didn't realize that. And I didn't change my mind. But boy, I thought about it. So good stuff from West Virginia, who won the Big 12 tournament, hosted. No reason to think they're going anywhere. I know Jordan Harrison graduates as an all-time Mountaineer. Yeah, the arrow was pointed up for West Virginia as well. Yeah. Really good game yesterday. Was this the first game of the day? Yes. 18 lead changes, 7 ties. Louisville hangs on against Alabama. Are you still confident in your Louisville to the Final Four pick?
No, Texas looks really good. But I had to put someone that was not a 1 seed in there. So whatever.
You didn't have to.
In my mind, I had to because it's so boring otherwise. It should be fun.
It'll be boring until you get UCLA, Texas, and UConn, South Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. No, the games
then it will be fun.
And Phoenix will be very fun.
Louisville. I love East Ambululu. I've said that a couple of times, but it's been a minute. Every big game, she shows up. A couple of games against, your ACC bottom dwellers where she doesn't really do much, and she doesn't pop off the stat sheet really in general. Every game that matters. She's in double figures, and she's efficient, and she gets rebounds, and she was great yesterday. I think every player needs a glue girl like East Ambululu. It's great. Still don't know how to say her first name, but I know how to say her last name, so we're sticking with that.
Yeah, no, 18 points, 11 rebounds, a great game from her. And then, I mean, Taj Roberts also had 18. You got 12 and 8 from Ziegler. I feel like those 3 show up every game for Louisville, and I think helps their floor because you kind of know what you're going to get from those 3.
Right, and you can withstand Amari Berry just having an off shooting day.
Right.
Do you want to feel really old? Because I was talking to a younger coworker about the Skylar Jones news. And I mean, she's there. I think she's been there like their sixth woman off the bench, so that's
Mhm.
a not insignificant loss.
Right.
And we're just talking about Louisville in general. And this young fellow said,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I remember going to and watching AD during Maisha Hines Allen." What do you mean remember? That was like yesterday. And then I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, well, I was in high school and I was watching Angel McCautry." He's like, "Yeah, I don't remember that." Jesus Christ. You children. One,
Yes.
learn your history. Two, stop being young. Or me, stop being old. Because Angel McCautry was also yesterday, not
Yes.
20 years ago in college.
Right.
Alabama, I think a phenomenal year from the
Yeah.
Crimson Tide. Everyone expected a step back. I don't think they received a single vote in the preseason AP poll. And you understand why they lost 3 to the WNBA draft, including a
Mhm.
couple of players who stuck around, Sarah Ashley Barker and Aaliyah Nye. And then there they are, the 6th seed, won a game, and very much and had Louisville on the ropes. They lost by a point on the road. I mean, I can't say enough for the job Christy Curry's done for a program that, compared to the rest of the SEC, I don't think invests nearly as much in women's basketball as your upper echelon or the teams that, frankly, they're competing with
Mhm.
at that level.
Yeah, I feel like you just can't say enough about what they did this season because it would have been fine for them to take a step back given what they lost, and they just are still right there, and I think that's really impressive, and the fact that they were able to take the pieces they had and put together a season like this and come up with, like, a shot shy of making it to the Sweet 16. It kinda felt like they just ran out of time at the end there, like, Louisville had pulled ahead a little bit. They made some big time shots down the stretch, but just not quite enough time. Yeah, I think this is a really good season for Alabama.
100%. Heck of a season for the team Bama beat in the first round, too. Rhode Island, two teams
Mhm.
all year reached 70 points on them. Bama didn't. That's a real good defense. Program record 28 wins, their second tournament berth. And sadly, your reward is you lost your coach.
Yeah.
Tammy
I'm
Reese
Florida.
going to Florida. That's I've seen differing things on this because apparently her buyout was like 900,000. That's a not insignificant investment.
Mhm.
But I've also seen things that Florida kind of wants to go not lowball, but like they don't want to pay out the butt for a coach who was rumored for that job.
Right.
I don't know. It seems like a good hire. You won 28
Yeah.
games. You have a real defense. Yeah, it seems like a good hire. We'll find out, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Rhode Island's a season worth celebrating.
Yeah, definitely a great season for them, and I think especially the way the A-10 was this year, like, the 28 wins and stuff is not an easy task in that league. There was 4 really good teams there, so
Top seed in Fort Worth 3. I had a hunch Oregon might be in trouble when they shot 9 for 11 in the first quarter
mhm.
and they were down 7 anyways.
Yeah. It's not good. Not good.
Madison Booker has elevated her game to a whole different level. Go back to mid-February. They got blown out at Vandy. Next game, she was okay against Tennessee. So since February 19th, so a full month and change, she's been better than anyone in the country. 20 points a game, 60% shooting, 11 of 15 from 3, 9 rebounds a game. She had 40 against the Ducks. Yesterday, they made 8 threes. They committed 8 turnovers. They shot 86% from the line. They shut the foul off for Oregon on offense. I'd ask how on earth you beating Texas right now, as if the other 3-1 seeds didn't look as good, but how on
Right.
earth you beating Texas right now?
Yeah, I mean, all of these one states look really, really good right now, and I think Madison Booker particularly, I think elevates this team. We talked about how like sometimes like she's really good all the time, but like hadn't been like that superstar in their big games, and I feel like that has just totally changed kind of the stretch of this season. You think back to the game against South Carolina in the SEC final, like she was fantastic. Now she put up 40 on Oregon. Like they're really, really difficult to beat if she's going to keep playing like this.
And if they make 8 threes, and if they don't turn the
Mhm.
ball over, and they make their free throws, and they play their usual defense,
Yeah.
it's not a bad recipe. Ducks took care of the Hokies in round 1. I'm interested to see where Virginia Tech goes now. It's reached its first tournament under Megan Duffy, Carly Wenzel, and Karis Baker Juniors. They could get some fringe top 25 hype
Mhm.
for next preseason.
Agreed.
That leaves us Michigan, NC State. This was a 3-point game at half. Olivia Olson had not scored. I'd be interested to see how this game plays out with Zoe Brooks. Maybe it's the same, particularly because Michigan scored 64 second half points. Maybe it doesn't, though. I mean, 3-point game at halftime, and Zoe Brooks is in that NC State locker room. Clearly, NC State just ran out of steam in that second
Yeah.
half, but I think it probably plays out not a 29-point win, but a Michigan win, probably by double digits. But it's a real what if there.
Yeah, agreed. I think not having Zoe Brooks in this game kind of took a lot of the energy out of it. For NC State to be down their best player, it's not going to be the same matchup. But then on the flip side for Michigan, I mean, they continue to just get so much from their big three. Olsen and Swords combined for 53, got another 13 from Holloway, and that's more than NC State scored. So when you get more than the other team from just three players, it puts you in a really good position.
You saw the extremes for Michigan in this game. They shot 32% in the first half. They were 2 of 12 from three, and that's not the first time we've seen them have a half like that. Then the second half, they shoot 56%. They make 8 threes. Olsen and Swords combined for 44 points. Not many teams can do that against a top 30 defense. So I could see an Elite Eight scenario, not to say they still have a Sweet 16 game to win, where they lose to Texas by 30. I see a scenario where they're in it and can win the game.
Yeah.
Because they're of the teams left, their floor versus their ceiling is about as extreme as anyone.
Agreed. It's just like, I mean, you look back to like beginning of the season, like that UConn game where they had the first half where they were down 20, and then the second half where they made that comeback and made it a game to the final minute. It's fascinating.
I mean, Vandy was the same
Banner
way.
too, yeah, exactly.
Unfair to say people within any program want a season to end, especially when you're in the tournament. From an outsider's perspective, it does not seem like the worst thing in the world that NC State beat Tennessee on Friday. And that we've seen the end of this Tennessee basketball season. It didn't look fun in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't think anyone was having fun anymore, and it's a good time to pack it up.
So the reports are out there that they're going to be a lot of Lady Vols in the transfer portal. We'll see. But yeah, the most disappointing team in the country. Yeah, which is, unfortunate for a team that had a lot of preseason hype. And now no one sees as hotter going into next year than Kim Caldwell. That's the way it is. We'll see if she can turn things around, because it seems like she's not going anywhere. And yeah, it'll be year 3. So that'll be probably one of these stories in the SEC next year, for better or worse, is can Tennessee turn it around fairly quickly? And they're going to hit the portal hard again. Fans, now's your chance to win big this March, and there's no bracket required. That's good because ours both stink. Go play the Varsity Network Swish and Win today. College Sports Now X page at CS Now Tweets. Go there, enter to win $500 in gift cards and varsity gear. Then download the free Varsity Network app, your only destination for hometown calls and complete coverage of every men's and women's game all month long. So they'll have all of the Sweet 16 teams. I think if not 16, then they're going to have at least 15 of them. All in one app. It's free. You can listen to whatever game you want, or they have the national feed as well with Westwood One. Moving on. Fort Worth won. One of the bigger upsets. Virginia gets the upset of the tournament thus far. Not far behind. I don't even know if you want to call it an upset, but what Notre Dame has done when you look back at what the Irish looked like in December and January to what they look like now, it's a lot more than Hannah Hidalgo. But obviously, Hannah Hidalgo is really good.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this a little bit as we were going into like conference tournaments and how they kind of quietly like flew under the radar a little bit in February, but like we're stacking some good wins, had things figured out, had that win over, was it, I can't remember who beat Duke and who beat Louisville, but they beat one of them at the end of the season there, and then they looked really good in the ACC tournament, and then that kind of just has spilled into the NCAA tournament here, and they get past Fairfield comfortably. And then last night, Ohio State, like you said, Hannah Hidalgo, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 8 steals, your typical Hidalgo stat line, but it wasn't just her. You had 4 other players in double figures, and I thought that was the difference maker in this one.
Absolutely. Bransford off the bench with 10 points. Her return, remember, we didn't really talk about her return because she got injured during the year, and we didn't know how severe it was at the time. She wound up missing better part of 2 months, and she came back at the start of February, and she's been okay. Yesterday is probably her best game since coming back. Kassan Prosper had 13 points, 5 of 7 shooting. Vanessa DeJesus, who's been so hot and cold this year, 15 points, 3 of 6 shooting. And then Iana Moore, she started that comeback. They were in an 11-0 hole, hit a couple of threes. She's been that consistent secondary scorer. So yes, Hidalgo's stat line is mind-boggling. 26, 13, 8 steals. She has 15 steals in 2 tournament games. She's been doing that all year. The difference now is that she's doing that still with help. And here, after all the critique, us included, of Notre Dame all year long, here they are in the Sweet 16 again.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because that's like where their season has ended the last few years, and obviously the way that this team has been talked about in the last few years compared to this year is very different. The last few years they've been a top program, where this year, I guess you could call it a down year, right? But they're still right back there.
Now, the story for Hidalgo is she's really struggled in 2 Sweet 16s. If she does it again, it's I'm not even going to blame her per se,
Mhm.
because she's so the center of that universe, of that team, where, like, yeah, she's going to have an off game, because when you shoot the ball 26 times a game, eventually you're going to have a game where they don't all go in. If it happens against Vanderbilt, it's going to be a storyline going in. Can Hidalgo
Mhm.
right the ship in the Sweet 16? Fair or not? What are your thoughts on Ohio State? Because it's the second time in 3 years they lose in the second round at home. Third year in a row they lose in the second round, period. Yeah, I have thoughts on where Ohio State is as a program, but they're not a bad program by any stretch of the
No.
imagination. But it feels like that it should be better than what it is.
Yeah, it feels like they're a program that have been good enough these last few years that like they should be a Sweet 16 year or a Sweet 16 team year in and year out, and that hasn't really happened. So I think it's a little bit surprising just given the amount of talent they've had and where they've been coming out of the regular season, right? Like this is a team that I think regional weekend should have been an expectation, and they don't make it there. And arguably, yes, you get the tough draw, right? Like who else had to play a 6 seed that has a Hannah Hidalgo caliber player on it? Like that is just a tough draw. But at the same time, like it is a little bit of a disappointment for Ohio State to not advance to the second weekend.
I'm curious. I think I said this exact same thing last year. When is Ohio State going to adjust? You have your philosophies as a coach. Don't throw everything out and start from scratch. But I mean, this is the 13th straight year they've allowed over 63 points a game. For context, if you allow 63 a game, you're ranked like middle of the pack in the country. This year was 160th out of 363 teams. They've had a negative rebound margin for 6 straight years, and 7 of the last 8. And the one year it wasn't, they out-rebounded opponents by 0.6 per game. It's been a decade since they out-rebounded anyone by an average of 1 a game. Not to say they stink or anything like that.
Mhm.
Go look at teams who make the Final Four and win national championships. They allow a hell of a lot less than 63 points a game, and they kick the crap out of people on the
Yeah.
boards. At some point, when you do the same thing year after year after year after year, maybe go, we need to get a little bit of size. We need to defend a little bit better. Because even 10% better for Ohio State with what they do well, forced turnovers. They have Jelani Cambridge. He's an All-American. If you get 10% better at those other things, that's the fine margins between a second round exit and a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8. Because, I mean, they've been to 5 straight tournaments. The last 4, they've been a top 4 seed, and they have an Elite 8 and a Sweet 16 to show for it. That's not a bad return. There's also as many disappointments in there as there are successes in getting to the second weekend. So, like,
Yeah.
when are you going to go adjust? That's my question for Ohio State.
It's a fair question.
Give me I'm giving you 30 seconds on UConn Syracuse, because that's 30 seconds longer than it was a basketball game last night. You were there. Go ahead.
I mean, I think if you're only giving me 30 seconds, like we gotta talk about.
Take as long as you want. I'm just kidding, but
No, I know. I mean, AT was incredible. I think we've seen AT be a really, really good player all year, right? But you haven't necessarily seen her have these like 3-point outbursts that you know she's fully capable of. We've seen them many times before, and that's absolutely what last night was. I mean, she just, I think, through 3 quarters outscored Syracuse and 34 points in total. She did on 18 shots, like incredibly efficient. It just felt like every time she shot the ball, it was going to go in the net. But I think in addition to that, like the first half that UConn played, like we kind of alluded to earlier, was just was pretty spotless. I mean, the defense was good. They only allowed 12 points. Easy Fudd hit with shots, but it wasn't just Fudd. It was, I mean, Sarah Strong, Blanca Quinones has had a really great start to the tournament, so it just feels like they're firing on all cylinders in that first half.
I did like So one of the criticisms of Strong and Fudd, and frankly, it was Paige Becker's, is like their unselfishness.
Mhm.
Ryan Ruocco talked early on in the first quarter about how Gino told him, like, told Sarah Strong, you're gonna have to go get 30 at some point and be okay with it. And
Mhm.
even I think Kaylee Heckle afterwards said, like, oh, he was like apologizing for shooting. Like, no, we want you to shoot the ball. Paige did it last year. There will come a point where they're down at halftime in the Sweet 16, and you got to stop being selfish. And Paige Becker said, give me the ball and get the hell out of the way. And she put up 40. At
Mhm.
some point, I like that AZ Fudd is being a little selfish and taking shots. I
Yeah.
like that Sarah Strong can come out and score the first 7 points of the game for UConn. Because at some point, there's going to be a time where UConn has lots of good players. Get the ball to Sarah Strong or get the ball to AZ Fudd and get the hell out of the way.
Right.
So, saw
Yeah.
it.
If it doesn't happen this coming weekend, it will happen in the Final Four. Like, there's going to be a time where they need the two of them to put up 30 to be the All-Americans, and yeah, they gotta be willing to do that.
And they will play North Carolina in the Sweet 16. Remember in November, I said I like North Carolina, and then they just didn't have the horses to hang with. They lost to
Mhm.
UCLA, they lost to Texas, and then I hopped off the bandwagon. I wish I didn't, because they're figuring things out, and they have been. And we know North Carolina's defense; they're figuring out how to score.
Yeah.
And
No, they are. They were, able to put up, what was this? Was it 69 points last night? I forget how many they scored.
they put
Maybe
up
I'm missing.
82 on
Uh,
Virginia. What did they? Oh, there's too many games. There's too many games.
yeah, it's like I'm probably picking that number from a different game.
They put 74 up on Maryland.
Okay, 74, so more than I was thinking. So yeah, certainly scored the basketball well. I mean, 21 from Arnesalo, 20 for Laney Grant. So an efficient scoring night for them. And then on the flip side, I mean, I think the dagger for Maryland was in two parts. They were only 3 of 23 from deep, and then you can't go 17 of 31 from the free throw line.
No, you can't. I liked Alina Arnesalo in her somewhat limited minutes last year at UCLA. Remember,
Mhm.
Kiki Rice was hurt early on last year, and she got some extended minutes. She's really fueled this surge. Double figures 7 of the last 8. The one exception she didn't need to score in double figures against Western Illinois. Had 3 20-point performances in her last 8, including on Sunday. Her previous high all year was 16 before this little stretch. And I can say the same thing about Laney Grant, who in the first half of the season, she had 4 double-figure scoring games. Second half of the year, she has 13. She had 20 points against the Terps. That 4 corners play late where everyone stood on the 4 corners and then Grant went one-on-one and got a layup out of it. I thought that was really cool. Their last 6 games, they've played tournament teams. 82 at Virginia, 74 Duke, 85 Virginia Tech, 82 again the first round, 74 against Maryland. They won all those games, and the one loss to Louisville, they scored 57. It's almost like having a defense that can consistently keep teams in the 60s. It's a lot more
Mhm.
effective when you score in the 60s and above.
Yes.
Funny how that works.
Yes, exactly.
I'm still impressed by the year Maryland was able to put together. I
Oh, agreed.
know it was a disappointing fall from the top 16 with the tough finish. They were undone by free throws. You're right. And kind of the story of their season, like they couldn't get their starters to connect at the same time. Okanawa was good. She miserable from the free throw line, but open play, she was good. Garzone and Poffenbarger were 3 of 23 in the same game. Mir McLean was really, really good. Addie Mack was okay. Like they just never put it all together consistently. Still, this could have gone sideways a lot earlier with all the injuries.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you look at what Maryland had to go through this year and like the pieces that they lost, like there's very much a world where they are not even in the hosting conversation where they really struggled. And the fact that they were able to get to a place where, yeah, they didn't host, but they were darn near close to it and are fighting for a spot in the Sweet 16, like a heck of a season from them, given what they went through.
What did you think of the Brenda Freeze viral clip?
I I don't know, like
I thought it
clearly
was cool.
yeah, I thought it was like a good clip. Like, and they talked about it after the game, and like Okawana said she likes to be coached hard, so like clearly that's what she's looking for. I don't understand all the people on the internet that are mad about it, but that's just people on the internet.
I understand that the old school of like Bob Knight way of coaching, no bueno.
Mhm.
Like, it's okay to be coached hard. But the
Yeah.
words were like everyone could read the lips of. She wasn't tearing into Okanawa.
Right.
She was uplifting her in just a very old fashioned way. And yeah, I liked it. If Okanawa liked it, I had no issues.
Yeah.
That leaves Vandy, Illinois. Big run early to take a lead, and then Illinois made a run. Like, all right, single digit game. Can they get back into it? And then Passat 3. Galvin 3, Blake's 3, Passat 3, and well, that was the ball game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every night is a great night for Michaela Blakes, but 25 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 assist shy of a triple-double, 4 steals, like, just Blake's doing what Blake's does, and then, I mean, they got 18 points from Passat, 12 from Galvin. This team is gonna be its best, right, when, like, you get that type of line from Michaela Blakes, but then there's a few players around her that also have big nights, and I think we're seeing that with consistency, and that's why Vanderbilt is where they are. That's why they are a 2 seed. That's why they're going to the regionals. So
Yeah,
big
copy
night for
paste
them.
what we said for their Sweet 16 opponent, Notre Dame. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
Michaela Blakes is going to score 25 every game, just like Hannah Hidalgo is going to put up 20, 25 points every game. The difference is when Justine Passat makes 6 threes or whatever it was, like that's far scarier to me than Michaela Blake's getting 25 because yeah, that you bake that in to the Vandy
Mhm.
scouting report. Like, all right, we're down 25-0 because Michaela Blakes is going to score. How do
Right.
we stop everyone else? Well, if you don't stop Justine Passat and Galvin and Sasha Washington with some big buckets inside, that's when Vandy. That's a hard task defensively.
Exactly.
I'm very excited about the future of Illinois basketball. Barry Wallace will be a junior. Sierra Parchment will be a sophomore. Guyton's a junior. Brown Hager will be a senior. They should be a preseason top 20 team. Now the question is just can they take the next step, and we'll find out. But I'm very excited about the future in Champaign.
Yeah, I thought them getting the first round win was really notable because considering, like, how good this or how young this team is, and, like, that game was close down the stretch to show the maturity to get that first round win, I thought was really good step for this program, and like you said, like, no one expecting them to beat Vandy, but they've got a lot of really great pieces, and if they all return, like, absolutely a top 25 team next year that I think can take another step.
That leaves Sacramento 2. We'll start with Ole Miss, Minnesota. Had a little bit of everything. We had a near buzzer beater. We had some officiating, we'll just say drama, controversy. Gophers are off to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2005. Amaya battled the hero, her baseline jumper in the final second. As you might imagine, the stats in this one were insanely close. Field goal percentage,
Yeah.
threes, free throws, rebounding, paint points, point distribution, all basically even. Start with the positive. We'll start with the Minnesota side. Minnesota erasing an 8-point fourth quarter deficit, and they made some spectacular plays down the stretch. I mean, they were unreal in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, you mentioned Maya Battle, and she had a great game, including the game winner, but also Moore Braun had 17, was just fantastic in this game.
That step back, whew.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, an impressive win for Minnesota. And also I felt like this was one of those ones where, I don't know, sometimes you, like, can't tell how the energy is in the arena on the TV. You could tell how it was in Minnesota, and, like, yes, I know they say there'll be more upsets if they're not at home, but, like, it's so fun to watch a game be played in that environment when everyone's just so into it when it's close like this, and I feel like this showcase for why they should get to be at home. Like, you earn the right to play at home, and it's really cool to
I have
watch
2
the
thoughts on
fans
this.
get
One,
so into it.
yeah, 2 thoughts that I 100% agree with you. The Fairleigh Dickinson coach said, I think the women's game has grown enough to move to neutral sites. One, sorry, it hasn't. If you look at some of the attendance numbers from some of the host schools, TCU had 4,800. I get it was 9 p.m. on a Sunday. Would the men have that problem? No. UNC had fewer than 2,500. Duke had fewer than 4,000 on the middle of the day on a Sunday. I've given up on the triangle. The Tobacco Road thinks it's a basketball area. It's a men's basketball area. Clarify that because it's not a women's basketball area, no matter how hard they try. And that, again, that's attendance is never it's not Carol Lawson's fault. It's not
Mhm.
Courtney Banghart's fault. Get people in seats, administrations. UCLA had 6,000 there last night. Like Michigan had 7,000. Great, it seats 13. We're not there yet because as great as like the usual suspects, UConn, Iowa, South Carolina, Texas showed up. You're going to have that as soon as you make it a neutral site. And now you're suddenly making a 7,000 person arena 3,500. We're not ready for that. Secondly, you're right. Men's basketball and hockey are the only sports that are neutral site the whole time.
Yeah.
And like it's fun to go to environments. Yeah, sure. It sucks that you have to go on the road and win a true road game. Then be better.
Right.
Virginia won a true road game. They figured it out.
Exactly. It can happen, and, like, what like, I feel like so much of the notion of, like, this neutral site thing is all about, like, well, that's what the men do, so that's what everyone should do. And like maybe it's not better. I don't know. Like reward your teams that are better. And yeah, maybe there's less upsets, but like we've talked about, that makes for just such better basketball the second weekend, the final weekend.
I'd rather see 10,000 at the barn screaming their heads off for Minnesota, and sure, it's tougher for Ole Miss,
Mhm.
than I would if that game was played in what's between Mississippi and Minnesota, St. Louis,
Yeah.
and there's 4,000 people there in a 12,000 seat arena. Great.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's exciting. Yeah, Minnesota wins. Honestly, it's impressive that they advanced to the second weekend, and Grace Kahalski was pretty much a non-factor. She didn't
Mhm.
score against Green Bay, and she had 8 against Ole Miss, and she's arguably their best player. Sure, she's certainly 1B to bronze 1A. For that matter, Gophers got a major test from Green Bay. The final
Mhm.
score was very much not indicative of how that game went. They didn't lead till the third quarter. Then they had a 30-point fourth quarter and ran away with it.
Right.
But they were lucky, frankly, to even get to that second game.
Yeah. No, Green Bay played them really tight for 3 quarters, like you said, and it was looking like it could go down to the wire, and then just were able to pull away in that fourth quarter. And by pull away, like really, really pull away. The final score looked quite lopsided, even though the game was quite close for 30 minutes.
So Minnesota just keep winning games.
Mhm.
At this point, the secret's out. Like Minnesota's a host. We know they're good. Everyone knows they're good, and they just keep proving it that they're good. Let's go
Mhm.
to the Ole Miss side of things. Well, there's a lot to unpack here. They're awfully angry by the officiating. I don't blame them. I hate block charge calls. Hate them. I think
Yeah.
70% of them. It's the old. This is a bit of a crude analogy, but like the Supreme Court was like, I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. I can't define what a charge is, but I know it when I see it. And most of them aren't charges.
Yeah.
And I mean, when Amaya Battle is openly saying in the press conference, yeah, I'm just going to fall and see what happened. That's not Amaya Battle's fault. That's her taking advantage of a situation that everyone in the country does. Boy, that fifth foul on Cody McMahon was awfully hard to swallow.
Yeah, it was a tough one, and I get why they're so angry about it, especially when, that's your star, and like Coach Joe said online, like you want your star in the game in those moments, but it also like it is what it is. Like the officiating is never great. Like I don't know that I ever watch a game and I'm like, wow, that was such great officiating.
My only issue with the comments were like, well, Paige and Caitlin, well, they're guards,
Yeah,
and
it's
then like no one fouls out. No stars foul out. Well, Angel Reese fouled out in her last college game.
yeah.
Cam Brink fouled out in her last college game. So it's not like a universal thing. It was a bad call. I mean, it was
Mhm.
consequential. Like, remember, she made the layup. It would have been 61-54 Ole Miss
Right.
with McMahon on the floor the rest of the way. Instead, she's out. It's back to a 5-point game, and they're outscored 11-4 the rest of the way.
Right.
But two things, you're right. Two things can be true at the same time. They got a bad whistle. They got a bad call. They also shot 3 of 11 in the fourth quarter, and they had the ball in their hands up 3 with 2 minutes left. They forced up a tough mid-range jumper. They had a shot clock violation in which they had 2 timeouts. Clearly nothing was happening, and they didn't use it and didn't even get a shot up. And then they did tie the game on the next possession, but they had 2 bad offensive possessions, and defensively made 0 stops. With the ball up 3 with 2 minutes left, you proceeded to give up points on the ensuing 3 possessions. Like, yeah, bad whistle, sucks. Chances were there.
Yeah, exactly.
One team made a step back 3, one team made a off-balance baseline jumper, and you didn't.
Right.
Sorry. That's the way it goes. Because it wasn't even bad defense. Like, someone makes a step back 3, someone makes a fadeaway jumper over your defender, tip your cap. Your team had
Right.
chances to make that play too. So I see where they're coming from with the bad officiating. There's still 39 minutes and 58 seconds to also play.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
tough break for Ole Miss. Sorry, they still had a good year. Like, considering where they were 6 years ago, the fact that they're consistently a second round Sweet 16 team and they're disappointed to not make the Sweet 16, that's all the credit in the world to Coach Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
UCLA Oklahoma State was the last game last night. It was 21-6 at the end of one, and off we move. I'm normally the stat person. You had quite the little stat that Lauren Betts added to. I don't remember what it is, and I don't have it offhand. So what is it?
Yeah, it was only, well, as of when AZ Fudd did it, but now as of Lauren Betts last night, 6 players in the last since 2010 have scored 34 or more points on better than 70% shooting from the floor. Lauren Betts and AC Flood both did that last night, and then Brittany Griner did it twice. Audie Crooks did it. I'm blanking on who the other two are. Give me a second to pull up Twitter. It's been a minute since I tweeted that. I just can't remember what happened last night
But
already.
basically, like, it happened like
Yeah,
4 times in the last 15 years, and it happened
right.
twice in 4 hours last night.
Yeah, which is crazy. So yeah, great night for her. I think career high for Lauren Betts in her last game at UCLA. So very fun. Oh, Kiki Arieffin was the other one, and then Adia Matthews, who was at Kentucky. So yeah, happened 4 players 5 times in the last 15 years, and then twice last night.
It's funny that UCLA was with a quote unquote least impressive 1 seed because they kind of played with their food for a half against Cal Baptist and then only won by 19 last night, as if they didn't basically put it in cruise control after the first quarter. Yeah, they're 1 seeds are really good. And Minnesota gets them in the Sweet 16. That leaves us with the bottom of Regional 2. Duke gets credit, but man, was Baylor bad. Was Baylor really bad? And part of that's Duke's defense, but man, laid an egg.
Yeah. I mean, credit to Duke, right? Like Baylor scored less than 50 points. Duke was +7 on the glass. Baylor turned the ball over 23 times. Like, yeah, some of that is Duke's defense. Some of it was probably just Baylor not showing up. But either way, it's a recipe for Duke to get the win. And then I thought from the Duke side of it, obviously the defensive stuff, right? Like we always expect Duke to come with good defense, and like rebounding and defense wins in March, and that's why like Duke's going to another Sweet 16. But I think the most impressive thing for me from Duke was like they didn't have a great shooting night, right? They only shot 39% from the floor. They still put up 69 points. I think there's been many of Duke teams where if they didn't have a good shooting night, that meant they might score 50. And they still put up almost 70 points. And Toby Fournier, Delaney Thomas, Ashlyn Jackson, all in double figures, so that the offense was going too.
I didn't think about it that way because you're right. I didn't think Duke played particularly well offensively. They were 4 of 22 from 3. Heck, they only made 63% of their free throws. Delaney Thomas played well offensively, but no one else did. But they didn't really need to. Baylor had more first half turnovers than they had first half points. That's generally not a good thing.
No.
Duke just keeps on chugging along and looking. Just it's not even like they're not overwhelming teams like some of the 1 seeds or like LSU, but they're just fairly comfortably winning these games. I know they lost to North Carolina. I know they went to overtime with Louisville. They just keep winning after they didn't do a whole lot of that in November. So yeah, LSU has a task on its hands in the rematch because that's a very different Duke team than they saw at Cameron in December. I still don't know what it is about Baylor that never really clicked. What are your thoughts on Baylor as a whole? This is year 5 of the Nikki Collin era. Second round exits in 4 of those 5 years. They had a Sweet 16 loss a couple of years back. They were a 2 seed her first year, and then they've only hosted once in the last 4 years. Where are you with Baylor, who's just kind of settled into a pretty good team, but not a great team anymore?
Yeah, I mean they're consistently, like you said, pretty good, but it feels like kind of gone are the Kim Mulkey days at Baylor when they were great. And maybe Baylor's okay with that. I don't know. But it feels like
And they're in a conference that's more gettable than most others at the top.
Right. And they get good talent, but I think the difference is they haven't had like a All-American type player in a while. And how do you get some better talent in there? And it shouldn't be that hard of a sell, right? Like it's a basketball program with history. You're playing for Nikki Collin, who used to play in the WNBA or coach in the WNBA. Like no better way to get prepared for going to the WNBA than playing for someone that's coached at that level. But I don't know. It feels like this is a bit of a reset right here now because they've got these seniors that have been around for a while. They had them last year. Now they've got kind of the next wave of them that are departing. So what does this team look like next year? I really don't know. And It'll be interesting to see what they can bring in.
I'm also interested in what Texas Tech looks like next year.
Yeah.
They were the first of the couple of beatdowns by these top teams. 101-47 against LSU, who, as usual, I was wrong about a lot last week. I thought LSU would breeze through the first 2 rounds. Very much did so. 54-point win. I will say I'm a sucker for exits. Flaugier, Rory Harmon, Lauren Betts, AZ Fudd yesterday. I'm a sucker for that. That's also, you get those, I guess, on senior night, but second round of the tournament,
Yeah.
you leave. It's
Nice.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a complete, we don't need to go in depth on a 54-point win for LSU, but Lady Raiders, they started 19-0. They finished 7-8. They made their first tournament since 2013. They won a game in the tournament for the first time since 2005. And now they have 9 seniors on the roster. Bailey Maupin's gone. Sonata Collins is gone. Danae Fritz, Sydney Love. They're all gone. Jalen Bristow's back. That's pretty much it. And they have that very interesting 7-1 freshman from Nigeria. Where does this go?
I feel like you got to go hit the portal, right? Like you want to build on the type of year you just had. Like, and I don't think you want the type of year that Texas Tech just had to go away with this senior class. Like you said, they're losing a lot of pieces, but now you've established yourself as a program that can make the tournament, right? You made the tournament. You can go back there next year, but I think you got to hit the portal hard and make that sell and get some pieces in to be back there next year and not have it just fall off.
Krista Gerlich mentioned that post-game. Texas Tech is not bereft of money, if you don't know. Right. Texas Tech athletics is not bereft of money from big-time donors. Football, men's basketball, obviously they get their share. Softball's gotten a lot of money from donors, and they've brought in a lot of top talent in the portal. Does that start to trickle over to women's basketball? Yeah. I think donors probably needed to see it first. Well, you've seen it. Now are you going to invest? Because, yeah, you're right. There's a difference between going into the portal and getting someone and having the ability to do so. Gerlich brought it up post-game, and basically maybe she was speaking to her administration and her donors of, we need to compete in the NIL space a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, but it has very much become like that is a huge piece of the portal. Like there's no way to beat around the bush there. Like having the money and the things to entice the players to come is important.
All right, let's break down these Sweet 16 games. We'll start Sacramento 4, South Carolina, Oklahoma. I can't lie. From an entertainment point of view, I'm glad it's Oklahoma and not Michigan State. They're different teams. I saw what UCLA did to the Spartans, particularly inside. I don't think the Spartans would have hung with South Carolina.
No, agreed. And then I think for Oklahoma in this one, like you have to look at the game they played the season where they beat them. Like that's what you need to do if you're going to beat South Carolina. We talked about the turnovers in the second round game, the 3-point shooting. Like you can't have that against South Carolina if you're going to try to get a win. Like you got to shoot the ball well from 3. You got to take better care of the ball. Like you got to bring your A game if you're going to beat South Carolina.
They brought their A game in the regular season. Chavez, she was bad in regulation. She was like 4 of 14 or whatever, and then made 4 or 5 threes in overtime. Need a similar recipe. 26 from Chavez. She was 9 of 19. For her, that's about as efficient as you're going to get, even if it was a bit skewed regulation and overtime. Reagan Beers was 8 of 9 shooting. They out-rebounded South Carolina by 15. That really doesn't happen. Or you got to copy-paste.
Yeah.
Got to score efficiently. You don't have to out-rebound them by 15. Got to probably win the rebounding battle, or at least have it be even. Got to have Reagan Beers stay on the floor, not get in foul trouble. And from the South Carolina side, you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, look at this game from a macro point of view. Joyce Edwards and Tanaya Latson were 4 of 22. Medina Okot, this was like the first game in that little stretch where she was eventually pulled out of the starting lineup because she wasn't playing well. So you had 3 starters struggle. You got out rebounded by 15. You were on the road, and you still needed overtime to lose. That's a lot of things that went Oklahoma's way. I don't think UCLA fans should be overly worried because that's a lot of things that don't often happen. That all happen on one bad night.
Yeah, exactly. The chance that South Carolina has that many things go wrong is pretty slim. So, and then you've got the added bonus, and like this team knows that Oklahoma beat them in the regular season and is probably going to come with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and an edge more than they might have with any other team because of that. So Oklahoma needs its A game, but that still could not be enough.
Speaking out of the other side of my mouth, the power of belief is powerful. Yeah. Oklahoma has done it. That counts for something. Because
Right.
if South Carolina ultimately won that game with everything going wrong that it did, you might be sitting there going, like, we played an A game and they played a C game and we lost. How
Mhm.
do we overcome that? Well, they didn't. They won that game. So that I think that counts for something going into Sacramento. And the winner of that game will get the Sweet 16 we all had. You might have
Mhm.
had TCU, but the 10 seed Virginia, Frogs and
Yeah.
Cavaliers. Why can't Virginia win this game?
I mean, they can. I don't think that they can't.
Oh, I mean that like
Yeah.
why not? Why not?
Be yeah. I mean, I think this one could actually be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they gotta slow down TCU's offense. Their TCU is 16-0 when they score 80 points. You can't let them score 80. But if you can slow down their offense, like TCU's got a big two there with Olivia Miles and Marta Suarez. Like Virginia has two players that can score a lot of points too. So if you can kind of keep pace with those two in a way, then it's just gonna come down to whose other pieces can give you more.
TCU obviously has size. Well, it's not like Hannah Stolke and Ava Hayden are slouches
Mhm.
for Iowa. Olivia Miles, sure, she's better
Right.
than anyone they've seen to this point, but Kamora Johnson's the best player TCU has seen to this point in the tournament, including all the talent that
Mhm.
Washington had. The numbers obviously all skew in favor of a 3 seed
Right.
TCU over a 10 seed, but this TCU offense, like it goes into funks. It is not infallible. It has played 12
Right.
games against top 40 her hoop stats ratings competition. In 12 games, they scored 70 twice. Iowa State, they're bad at defense, and once against Baylor in a couple of tries. And they were held to 60 or fewer 5 times in regulation in those 12 games. So the lower scoring this game is, and it can be low scoring, the better that is for Virginia. I think you're right. If this game gets into the 70s, this very much favors TCU. 80, good night.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't see any of these teams beating South Carolina.
No. Great.
TCU might be interesting
Yeah.
because they have some size to match up. They
Right.
have probably the best player on the floor.
Yeah. And Olivia
Or
Miles.
she
Yeah.
was
They're
certainly,
close to it. Yeah.
and she would have to be the best player on the floor to
Right.
win the game.
Yeah. Exactly.
And she's obviously capable of doing so. But yeah, I think it's South Carolina or bust. Fort Worth 3, another rematch. Texas, Kentucky, February 9th in Austin. Texas won 64-53. Asia Boone had 16 off the bench. She has since become a starter for Kentucky. Everyone else shot 35% and 2 of 8 total from 3. So a lot of things went wrong for Kentucky in that game. Oh, and they lost by 11. But on the flip side, Madison Booker made 1 field goal in that game. 1. Uno.
Yeah.
And Texas still won. Sure, you
Weird
can
game.
probably game plan to have Key and Hassett combined for more than 11 points. You're not game planning for 1 field goal for Madison Booker again.
Yeah, exactly. It was a weird game for Texas. Like Justice Carlton led everyone with 17 points, just like not the typical Texas box score. But like you said, a lot of things went poorly for Kentucky in that game. They also had 23 turnovers. Like you got to protect the ball. Better than that, like yes, a lot of that is Texas's defense, but like turning the ball over 23 times is not a winning recipe in March. You got to take care of the basketball. I
I
think
love this
because it
Kentucky.
was such a weird game for Texas and like they still won, I don't think that bodes well for Kentucky here.
I love this Kentucky team.
Yeah.
If Key doesn't get hurt, they're hosting and they're probably in a different region and this whole different matchup. I think it's a tall task.
Yeah.
A tall, figuratively and literally a tall task
Yeah.
to beat this Kentucky team
Yes.
or this Texas team right now. There's a path, maybe more than anyone else against a 1 seed, but it's
That's a
just
tough one.
yeah. I can't.
Yeah, I think Texas is going to have to like hurt itself for it to happen. Like if Texas goes out and does what they can do, I don't see it. But if Texas has an off night, okay, maybe.
I mean, the recipe for that is Booker maybe gets in early foul trouble. We've seen that
Right.
before. If Harmon's not playing well and Brianna Preston comes in, who knows? Roy Harmon may not play the 4th quarter.
Hmm.
We've seen that twice, but
And it hasn't ended well for Texas either time.
no,
Yeah.
no. So I mean, there's certainly a recipe there. It's same as Oklahoma and South Carolina. It'll be the same for North Carolina. It'll be the
Mhm.
same for Minnesota. You have to play your A game, and
Right.
you need to hope that the 1 seed plays a C game, a B minus game.
Hmm.
Because part of this is if the 1 seed shows up, there's not much you're doing.
Right. Right.
They're better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Not infallible, but you need a lot of help on top of your
Yeah.
best. Michigan Louisville, meanwhile, is as dead even a Sweet 16 game as we have.
Yeah.
Wolverines are 7th in her hoop stats and offensive efficiency. Cardinals are 8th. Defensive efficiency favors Michigan. Louisville allows fewer points. Michigan plays at a faster pace. So it's two different style of teams, but this could be maybe the best game of all in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, this one feels like it's a coin flip, and I think it should be a really fun one. Something that stuck out to me when I was just like looking at the stats on this one is, Michigan's defense, I think, is really heavily reliant on them forcing turnovers. I don't think we think about Michigan as like this big press team, but they force 21 per game, but their like overall field goal defense is like not great, 201st in the country, which is fairly low for a top 10 team. And Louisville on the flip side is really good at taking care of the ball, and that could possibly be a little bit troublesome for Michigan. But you're gonna have two high scoring offenses in this game, so like I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I looked at the offensive stats. Michigan has 27 wins this year. Do you know how many times in those 27 wins they've scored 70 or more points?
27.
27, and they've scored 80 in 25 of those 27. Flip side, Michigan has 6 losses this year. How many times did Michigan score 70 in those 6 losses?
0.
0. Twice they scored 69, so kind of cheating, but they hit 70, they win. They don't hit 70, they lose. Sometimes the stats are as simple as that. And then Louisville, the raw numbers aren't quite as drastic, but when Louisville shoots above 43%, they're 26-1, and that one was South Carolina. When Louisville shoots below 43%, it is 3-6. Louisville shoots well, it wins. Louisville shoots not well, it loses. Basketball sometimes is that simple. Who's going to score?
Yeah.
I don't know. I picked Louisville in my bracket, so I guess I'll go with them.
Same. Clearly.
Honestly, so Michigan, I think, has the ceiling of they scored 64 second half points against NC State.
Right.
They might be able to hang with Texas because they can get hot. I think, honestly, Kentucky might have the best chance of all three of them to beat Texas.
Fair.
I don't see
think
Louisville.
Kentucky has this, like the size, which none of these other teams really have.
Yeah, and sure, Silas Swords and Olivia Olson can combine for 60 points, and yeah, that's a different conversation. They could also, Silas Swords can go 3 of 9 from deep, and they lose by 25.
Right.
And that is there one more, two more? Two more. Sacramento 2. Bruins went to Minnesota on January 14th and won by 18. They were up 17. It was very much like the Oklahoma State game. They were up big after the first quarter and just kind of coasted the last 3. They were up 8. Then they're up 10 at the half. Then they're up 12. And then they won by 18. Another one, I don't really see it. If you're looking for something to exploit, Minnesota obviously doesn't turn the ball over. They're pretty good at defensive rebound, right? They're 5th in the country in grabbing defensive rebounds. If they keep UCLA to one and done, they don't shoot a ton of threes, but they're good when they do. If they make threes, keep UCLA to one and done, yeah, they obviously have a shot. There's just too much talent.
Yeah, I don't see a world where this goes anyway other than every other Big Ten game that UCLA has played this year, which has ended with them in the win column rather comfortably.
Yes. Another fun 2-3 matchup. Second game between LSU and Duke. Another rematch. December 4th in Durham. We're just re-racking all these games. Big Duke run to open the game. It was like 14-2, 15-2, something like that. LSU erased it basically by the second quarter. They won by 16. That was old Duke.
Yeah.
In that game, Duke actually shot the ball well. They made 8 threes, shot 50%. They just watched LSU shoot 60% and outscore them 52-36 in the paint. This is a game. Toby Fournier played 22 minutes because she was in foul trouble. That can't happen. Delaney Thomas, instead of getting 5 or 6 rebounds, has to get 9 or 10 rebounds, and the guards have to do their part. That's the thing with LSU. Angel Reese doesn't gobble up 20 rebounds by herself on this team. They have 5 players who all have 4 to 6 rebounds, and then they're plus 15 on the glass when you look up, and no one has a double-double. Like everyone for Duke has to do their part to beat LSU, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this is an LSU team that obviously has a ton of offensive firepower, right? Like we've seen them put up 100 many, many, many times this year and on various levels of competition, but like they just did it to Texas Tech. So for Duke to hang around with that, like that's not Duke's game, right? Like Duke's not going to go score 100 points. So the defense has to be locked in. You have to slow down LSU and not let them do that. And then, yeah, like you have to shoot the ball well. You have to do the things. But I think this is, on the flip side, a very different Duke team than what LSU saw, and a much better Duke team than what LSU saw in the earlier season, so it kind of feels like it's a completely different game than it was back in December.
I agree. I think LSU has a little too much firepower for Duke, so I think they win. But I feel a lot better about a potential, if you want to call it an upset here, than I do most other Sweet 16 games.
Yeah.
And that leaves us with Fort Worth 1. Oh, actually, quickly. Can either of those teams beat UCLA? LSU has the firepower.
LSU, yeah, I think if it was going to be either of them, like I think LSU has a better shot. LSU could make for an interesting game. They've, like you said, they've got the offensive firepower.
Yeah, I mean
it could be interesting. I don't know. I wouldn't say I expect it, but I think it could get interesting.
It's also this would be the third in a row if it were to happen. They've seen each other in the tournament.
Yeah.
There's a familiarity there. There's a LSU's not going to be scared of a 30-1 UCLA because they play South Carolina twice every year and they play Texas every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no intimidation here, especially with a Kim Mulkey team.
Yeah.
Like they don't care that UCLA is as talented as them. And there's not the I think they hype themselves too much for South Carolina because they haven't beaten them in 20 years. This all right, we've beaten UCLA. Like we've been here before. That familiarity I think goes a long way.
Yeah.
That said, I would still take UCLA.
Yeah, I'm still gonna take UCLA, but I think LSU has a shot if we get that matchup.
Absolutely. That leaves us with Fort Worth 1. We've mentioned North Carolina's newfound success on offense. This is a step up in defensive opposition. Can the heels hang?
Like we've said for all the 1 seeds, it's hard to see, right? Especially if UConn plays the way they did against Syracuse. I think it's tough to.
The Syracuse team that, by the way, took North Carolina to overtime.
Right, exactly. Like not a bad Syracuse team. UConn just made them look bad. Yeah, I think this is a tough battle when you've got on the side for like UConn with the 2 All-Americans and Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd that you can just absolutely count on to score enough points for the Huskies. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing this one for North Carolina.
This is the best defense UConn will have played since probably Iowa. So that's something that UConn just hasn't seen in a while. I mean, KK Arnold and AZ Fudd are going to get Grant and Arnasalo probably. That's a level of defense that they haven't probably seen. I guess, they've played Hannah Hidalgo. They've played Duke. This might be the best defense in the country. We're trying with these 4 and 5 seeds. I promise. We're trying.
Trying to see it, but yeah, I don't know. It's
and
tough.
Then Vandy, Notre Dame. I mean, boy, how lucky are we? We got Jelani Cambridge and Hannah Hidalgo. Now we get Michaela Blakes and Hannah Hidalgo. Who Blakes went up against Rory Harmon, at least for 3 quarters. That was one of the games Harmon got benched in the 4th. Even from Harmon, who harasses you for 94 feet. This is a different type of defender than Michaela Blakes has probably ever seen with Hannah Hidalgo. That's the matchup to watch, right? If Blakes is going to get hers. But man, if Hidalgo just comes up with another 8 or 9 steals like she's done the first 2 games and it turns into easy buckets and Notre Dame keeps getting points from other people, and Vandy's defense is okay. There's absolutely a path here for the Irish.
Yeah, I agree. To me, I feel like this one, as much as obviously Blake's Hidalgo is the storyline and what everyone's going to be talking about, it might be more about what everyone else does because those 2, like I said, they're going to get theirs, right? Like Michaela Blakes is going to get her 20 whatever, Hidalgo's going to get her 20 whatever points. But I think who can get more from everyone around them? I think Notre Dame's recipe to win this game is exactly what they just did against Ohio State. You get 4 other players in double figures. That's a heck of a way to beat Vanderbilt. On the flip side for Vandy, you get Galvin and Bassett and Washington to have good games. That's a good recipe. So I almost feel like obviously the highlight is Hidalgo versus Blakes, but what everyone else does might be what actually decides this game.
Sasha Washington and Ayanna Mitchell, they probably haven't seen, they're probably looking at this front court and going, we get to play a team that doesn't have Joyce Edwards or Kyla Oldacre or LSU everyone.
Mhm.
Or yeah, like pick your SEC team. Go, oh, like this is a gettable front court. I think those two need to have big games. They don't. There's not too many games where they're smaller or they're bigger in the front
Right.
court, like by a decent amount at this stage. So I think the front court matters for Vandy. We haven't done a whole lot of Elite Eight preview. We've already run along. We'd be here all day. Everyone would love, right? Shea versus Gino.
Mhm.
It's Michaela Blakes versus Sarah Strong, which really, I think in that game, a potential UConn Vandy game would be Blakes and Galvin versus Fudd and Arnold for the same reason that I just talked about with North Carolina.
Mhm.
One of them's going to get Michaela Blakes. One of them's going to get Aubrey Galvin. Can you get UConn in foul trouble? Can you beat those two very good perimeter defenders?
Mhm.
Because UConn has the advantage inside. I mean, Sarah Strong is just you can't guard her. Not that you can guard Michaela Blakes, but at least UConn has someone size-wise who kind of matches up.
Right. Yeah. And everyone's hoping for that matchup, right? It'd be really fun. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
You taking all one seeds? I mean, I stuck with them the one seeds. I
Yeah.
tried to pick too many first round upsets and got so.
Yeah, I mean, my bracket might have not that, but yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at this realistically, yeah, I think that we're gonna see UConn, UCLA, Texas, and South Carolina in Phoenix.
You going to Phoenix?
Yep. I'm going to Fort Worth too, so we'll leave
You're
Thursday.
going to Fort Worth. Oh, that's
Yeah.
Are you going home between?
No, straight from Fort Worth to Phoenix.
Wow. When's your flight?
I'm flying Thursday night to Fort Worth, so I didn't get there just for the games on
Cool.
Friday.
I'd show up to Bradley or where are you flying out of?
Bradley. So I'm a
I'd
little
go to
less
Bradley
worried because
sometime.
it's Bradley. But yeah,
Thursday night. I'd get there sometime
I
Wednesday
know.
mid-afternoon, and you might make your flight.
I know it's gonna be a mess. I debated the Bradley versus LaGuardia for flying because they're kind of equidistant for me, and I'm glad that I went the Bradley route right now.
Yeah. TSA, everything's fine. It's fine. Yeah, if you're flying, for the love of God, get to the airport early. I can't imagine Sacramento has a huge airport. I hope it's not overwhelmed. I have a feeling it will be on a Sunday and Monday of next week. So if you're going, good luck. If you're at home, like me, enjoy watching games on your watching games on your TV because this time next week we'll be down to 4. We'll have a Final Four to preview. So everyone will talk next week.